Hello. So in this one, I want to talk about where we can start collecting open source video footage, a resource for open source audio. For the audio, you can use whatever you like so long as there are no lyrics. In terms of the licensing of that audio, that's kind of up to you. I used a track that we'll look at in a second that I had from a CD. So if you're totally stuck, you can go to this WFMU site. For video, I have resources here and also in Canvas. I think the best of the things I've shared with you is Pexels. And for what I have in mind, I'm going to go from like my opposites are going to be nature to city. So you can start searching by keywords that have to do with that. I would recommend kind of collecting more than less. And it's good to just, even as you start collecting, start thinking about like what it is you want to do and how it's going to kind of work together in a really loose sense. But it's good to download things. And let's say I wanted to use this tree thing here. So you just download. It's going to pop into your download folder or wherever you've set downloads to. And then to use it in your project, what you want is anything that goes into your timeline has to live in this footage folder. All right, so that's really important. Remember the whole, or maybe you don't remember, the absolute and relative links. You want them all to be in this footage folder, which is a child of the main directory that your edit lives in. All right, so let's see here. I have some audio that I've grabbed and copy it over to my footages. And then I'm going to go over to Premiere, Project. Let's go back to where we were looking at before. And grab this. All right, so we have our timeline here. To import assets, you can either just drag them over, or you can double click and find them this way too. Both are good. And I'm going to grab my audio and just drop it. Actually, I don't want the video. So, okay, if I want to just bring the audio component of a piece of footage, I double click on it and there's this new little window that popped up called Source. I can see because there's two little icons that are kind of lit up. There's an audio component and a visual component. And this is just our soundtrack, so all I want is the audio, and I'm going to drag it right into our timeline. And let's see. So if we want to hear this, we just hit spacebar. So I have a track from The Knife. And for the first 25 seconds, there are no vocals, and then the vocals cut in at 25. And like I said, I don't want that. In terms of your audio, it often makes sense to use either the beginning or the end of the track because the artists have a natural build up or a natural resolution. In terms of editing your audio down to a specific duration, there's basically a handful of things you can do. You can fade out, so play the beginning and then fade out after a certain amount of time, and we can look at that. You can fade in and then use the natural ending, or you can kind of cut the audio together. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll do all three. All right, so now that I have an audio in here. It's a good moment to save as. All right, I also have another version of this track that I downloaded from YouTube that comes, so this is the version on the album, but then there's another version that came from YouTube that has a longer instrumental part in the beginning. So let's and I'll use that for a fade out if I wanted to do a fade out of an audio. Here we go. So once again, I'm going to make sure that it is in my footage folder. Copy, paste, and I'm going to drag it in here. All right, so once again, I'm going to double click on this, which opens the source window, and I'm just going to grab the audio, and I'm going to grab it on, put it on a new layer. So if I want to, if I play it now, it's going to play both over the top of each other, which is not what I want. So I can either mute this person over here, or I can solo, which will just do that one. So I guess I'll just do mute track. All right, so this version, we look at this. The non-vocal part of the song goes for much longer. So let's do a little fade out with this one. So the assignment, the track should be approximately 30 to 45 seconds, I think is a good duration. So I'm just gonna listen here. All right, so I want to be out before this little accent happens. So it's really super useful to look at the actual waveform, right? This is the actual wave that the audio makes, and you can kind of zoom in, and then you'll often see in the actual shape of the audio the punctuated moment, right? So this is when the doo-doo-doo happens. So I'm going to hit C, which is the cut tool, all right? I'm going to cut right here. I'm going to grab all that and delete it, all right? So I want to be out by then. The next thing I need to do is to have the audio fade out. So to do that, we're going to go from assembly to effects. I'm going to grab my track here. And what we're going to do is turn off this channel volume thing and go to volume. All right, so what do we have here? I'm going to zoom out again, out. And let's see, at the end of my track here, Control, select the clip. I'm going to make a keyframe. And then at the beginning, where I want my fade out to start, right over here. I'm going to add another keyframe. And then over here, there's a little toggle, and I can go back and forth between my keyframes. I can also hit K. Oh no, that's in After Effects. That's it. Go back and forth between my keyframes. So I'm going to jump forward to the end of my timeline, and I'm going to drag this all the way down to -infinity. And if we look now, there's this handy line which is showing us how the volume of the track is fading out. So let's hear how that sounds. I'm going to zoom out a little and then play. All right. So that's a version of fading out. Let's and then fading in would be the same thing in reverse. So that's pretty straightforward. You go to audio, you set a keyframe for the levels. You can also drag these keyframes around to retime them, which is nice. Or here even. It's another version of the timeline. And like I said, fade in would just be the reverse. In fact, I could probably just take these keyframes even if I wanted. Yeah, there we go. Now it's a fade in. All right, but that's not what I want. I want to cut two tracks, the beginning and the end together, and I'm going to do that in the next.